Hello everyone, welcome to biology class. In this class we will be seeing about 9th standard biology chapter 22 World of Microbes. In this part of the video we will be discussing about the applications of microbes. The microorganisms contribute to human welfare in many ways. First, the role of microorganisms in the field of agriculture. The microbes play an important role in agriculture as biocontrol agents and biofertilizer. So, biocontrol agents means to kill the insects and the other pest which is going to attack the crop plants, and biofertilizer for the growth of the crop plants. So, they play an important role as biocontrol agents and biofertilizer, and they play a vital role in the cycling of elements which are required for the plant growth, like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and phosphorus. And these are called biological scavenger. So, because it is going to recover the minerals, these kind of elements from the dead organisms, so it is referred to as biological scavengers. Microbes as biofertilizer. The microorganisms which enrich the soil with the nutrients. So it is going to enrich the soil with the nutrients, hence referred to as biofertilizer. Usually fertilizers are chemical substances that are used for the plant growth, but here the organisms, microorganisms are used as nutrients, hence it is referred to as biofertilizer. And bacteria, cyanobacteria, fungi, these are the different microbes which are the main source of biofertilizer. And nitrogen is a main source of plant nutrient. So nitrogen is available in the atmosphere in the form of gas, and this can be converted to available form of nitrogen. So this conversion, that is the gaseous form of nitrogen, will be converted into the available usable form of nitrogen by means of microbes. So it can be converted either by means of the free living microbes or by means of a symbiotic relationship. So what is meant by symbiotic relationship? When two organisms enter into an association in which both the organisms are benefited, such a relationship or association is referred to as symbiotic relationship. For example, here the symbiotic relationship is exhibited by few microorganisms such as Acetobacter, Nitrosomonas. So, in case of nostoc, it is free living, and Acetobacter, Nitrosomonas, nostoc, and all free living nitrogen fixers, and symbiotic microbes such as Rhizobium and Frankia. So, this Rhizobium can live inside the root nodules of leguminous plant and they can fix the nitrogen. So, they act as a biofertilizer. Next, microbes as biocontrol agents. The microorganisms used for controlling harmful or pathogenic organisms and pests of plants are referred to as biocontrol agents. So, they are referred to as biopesticides. Bacillus thuringiensis, okay, BT in short, it is referred to as BT. So, this is a bacteria. So, this bacteria produces a protein and the name of the protein is referred to as cry protein. So, this protein is toxic to the insect larva. So, and it can kill the insect larva. So, thereby they are microorganism, they are going to act as biocontrol agents. And the spore form of this bacteria is available in sachets. Sachets means packet. And when this spores which is available in the sachet is dissolved in the water and this is sprayed on the plants infected with the insect larva. Thereby it will kill the insect larva. So we have seen about the role of microorganism in the field of agriculture as biofertilizer and biopesticides. Now we are going to discuss the role of microorganisms in industries. So the microorganisms play an important role in the production of wide variety of valuable products for the welfare of human beings. So many products are produced. We will see one by one. Production of fermented beverages. So the beverages like wine are produced by fermentation of grape by means of a microbe called Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So Saccharomyces is the yeast. So by means of the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, wine is produced from the grape. So for the process of fermentation, this yeast is helpful. Curing of coffee beans, tea leaves and tobacco leaves. So the curing process will add or impart a characteristic flavor, and also it will give a nice aroma. So the process is carried out by means of microorganism like Bacillus megaterium. Next is production of curd. So Lactobacillus species. So this is a bacteria, Lactobacillus. It will convert the milk to curd. And next, production of organic acids, enzymes and vitamins. Several enzymes are produced by the action of microorganism. For example, oxalic acid, acetic acid, citric acid are produced by the fungus called Aspergillus niger. And other enzymes like lipase, invertase, protease, glucooxidase are derived from the microbes. And yeast are rich source of vitamin B complex. So next, role of microbes in medicine. So how they are, we have discussed role in agriculture and role in industries. Now we are going to discuss the microbe role in case of the field of medicine. First, how the microorganisms are used as antibiotics. What are antibiotics? Antibiotics are metabolic product of microorganism. So these antibiotics in low concentration is inhibitory. So, or detrimental. Detrimental means it can kill. Inhibit means it can stop the growth. So, it can either stop the growth or kill other microbes. So, these are referred to as antibiotics. And in 1929, Alexander Fleming produced the first antibiotic called penicillin. And in human beings, the antibiotics are used to control the infectious diseases like cholera, diphtheria, pneumonia, typhoid, etc. So now let's see the microorganism and the antibiotic that is produced from the organism. First, let's see the microorganism, class of microorganism, and the type of microorganism and the antibiotic produced. First is let's see what are the antibiotic produced from bacteria. Okay. So, example Streptomyces griseus, this is the bacteria, and from this Streptomyces griseus bacteria, streptomycin antibiotic is produced. Next is Streptomyces erythraeus. So, from this bacteria, erythromycin is produced. Next, Bacillus subtilis, this is the name of the bacteria, and from this bacteria, antibiotic called bezitracin is produced. Next, even antibiotics are produced from fungi also. So first, Penicillium notatum, this is the fungi, and from this fungi an antibiotic called penicillin is produced. So this penicillin is the first discovered antibiotic. Next, Cephalosporium acrimonium. So from this fungi cephalosporin is produced. Next, about vaccines. What are vaccines? Vaccines we will be taking against preventing the infectious diseases. For prevention of diseases, we will be taking beforehand vaccines. So how these vaccines are produced? These vaccines are prepared either by killing or making the microbe inactive. The process of making the microbe inactive, that process is referred to as attenuation. So it is referred to as they are attenuated. The microbes are attenuated. The process is referred to as attenuation. So this attenuation process will make the microbe inactive. That is, the microbe will not be able to cause the disease, but it can stimulate our body. When taken, it can stimulate our body to produce the antibodies against the antigen in the microbe. So antigen is a proteinaceous substance which is found in the microbe. Against the antigen, antibodies are produced by our body. So thereby the microorganism is eliminated or killed. Now let's see several vaccines that are produced against diseases. So they have given the types of vaccine, here name of the vaccine, and against the disease to which it is used. First, the type of the vaccine is live attenuated vaccine. So the organism is alive but it is inactive. That is, it can produce antibody but it cannot cause the disease. So the name of the vaccine MMR. Okay, this is effective against 3 different viral diseases such as measles, mumps, and rubella. Next, BCG vaccine, Bacillus calmette-guerin. So this Bacillus calmette-guerin, this vaccine is effective against a disease called tuberculosis. Next, inactivated, that is killed antigen vaccine. So the name of the vaccine is inactivated polio virus, IPV. Okay, so it is the disease against which is used is polio. Next, subunit vaccine. Okay, that is only the antigen is taken as the vaccine. And the example for the vaccine is hepatitis B vaccine, and the disease is hepatitis B. Next is toxoid, inactivated antigen. So, the name of the vaccine is tetanus toxoid, TT. So, it is effective against a disease called tetanus, and diphtheria toxoid, which is effective against diphtheria. The next topic is microbes and diseases. So, what is disease? So, dis means against, ease means comfort. So, when we are not well, we are affected or infected, then that is referred to as disease. So, disease can be defined as an impairment or malfunctioning. So, the body is not under the normal state of function, then that condition of our body is referred to as a disease. So, the disease can be categorized based on several features. First, extent of occurrence, whether the disease is endemic, epidemic, pandemic, or sporadic in distribution. So, in the next slide, I will tell you about what is this about types of occurrence. Next, the diseases are classified based on whether infectious or non-infectious. Infectious means easily it can be transmitted from one person to another. So, such a kind of disease is called infectious disease, or non-infectious. So, it cannot be readily transmitted. Then that kind of disease is called as non-infectious disease. Next, types of pathogen, whether the disease is caused by bacteria or virus or fungi or protozoa, which kind of microorganism is causing the disease. Based on that also it is categorized, like bacterial disease, viral disease, fungal disease, protozoan disease, like that. Next, also it is categorized by means of transmitting agent, through which route the disease is transmitted. For example, whether the disease is transmitted through air, or the disease is transmitted through water, or the disease is transmitted through vector. Vector means insect. So, in this part of the video, we will discuss only about airborne and waterborne. Vector-borne disease we will be discussing in the next class. So, do you know World Health Day is observed on 7th April. World Malaria Day it is observed on 25th April. And World AIDS Day it is observed on 1st December. And World Anti-Tuberculosis Day is observed on 24th March. Next is classification of disease based on occurrence. So, I told you I will explain the next slide how the diseases are classified based on occurrence. First is endemic. So, if a disease is found in a particular geographical area, and if it is going to affect only that group of people who are found in that area alone, then that kind of disease is called endemic disease. For example, occurrence of goiter in sub-Himalayan region. So, goiter is a thyroid deficiency disorder. So, occurrence of goiter in sub-Himalayan region is an endemic disease. So, it is going to affect the particular geographical region. Next is epidemic, the disease which breaks out and affects large number of people in a particular geographic area and spreads at the same time. This is also going to affect a particular geographical area, but it is going to affect large number of people. If it is going to affect fewer number of people, it is called as endemic. And if it is going to affect a larger number of people, then it is referred to as epidemic. Pandemic. Pandemic is nothing but the disease which is widely distributed. So, throughout the world, if the disease is distributed means, then it is referred to as pandemic. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS. Okay, it is found worldwide, and nowadays you can take that corona as a pandemic. Okay, so throughout the world it affected, so it is referred to as a pandemic disease. And the next is sporadic, the disease which occurs occasionally. Okay, so it is not prevalent throughout the year like and all. So it is occasionally the disease is caused, then it is referred to as sporadic. Next is about manifestation of disease. About the communicability of diseases, infectious diseases are communicable diseases. That is, easily it can be transmitted from one person to another, and they are caused by external factors. So like any pathogenic organism, pathogen is nothing but a microorganism which is able to cause a disease is referred to as a pathogen. So the pathogenic organism like bacteria, virus, or in other vectors like insects, parasites, so invade the body and cause diseases. Example, influenza, tuberculosis, chickenpox, cholera, pneumonia, malaria. These are the diseases names. So these can be transmitted by the microorganisms or through means of insect vectors. Then it is referred to as a infectious disease or communicable disease. Non-infectious diseases are non-communicable disease. So these are caused by internal factors like when our organ is not functioning properly, or through genetic causes, or some hormonal imbalances in our body, or our immune system if it is defective. Then by means of these internal factors the diseases are caused. For example, diabetes, coronary heart disease, obesity, cancer, goiter. Obesity is nothing but excessive accumulation of fat. So these diseases and all cannot be spread from one person to another. So they are referred to as non-infectious disease, or otherwise referred to as non-communicable diseases. Next, let's see about the point of entry and place of infection. So the disease causing microorganism will enter the body through different means, through different route. The disease causing microbes can enter our body. An infection develops when these pathogens enter the human body. If it can enter through the air, water, food, soil, or physical contact, sexual contact, and through infected animals. So the disease can enter through either air, water, food, by whatever means the pathogen can enter the body. And they may be organ specific or tissue specific. So once it enters the body, it can affect a specific tissue, or it can affect a particular organ. Next is reservoir of infection. So reservoir of infection refers to specific environment in which the pathogens can thrive well. Okay, that is, it can multiply and it can without causing a disease. For example, the reservoir of the infection can be water or soil and animal population. Next is incubation period. So what is incubation period? The interval between infection and the first appearance of the disease. Okay, so for example, when a pathogen is entering our body and till the first appearance of the disease, that is how it is appearing, like it will show some symptom. So that time period is referred to as incubation period. So it may vary from few hours to several days. So depending upon the kind of pathogen, about the pathogen load that is entering into the body. So based on various reasons, the incubation period may vary. So it can vary from few hours to several days. Next, infection. Infection is the entry, development, or multiplication of an infectious agent in the human body or animals. Next, do you know Robert Koch? He is the father of bacteriology. Bacteriology is nothing but study of bacteria. He is the first German physician to show how pathogens cause disease. So how pathogens they are going to produce a disease, it is shown by Robert Koch. And in 1876 he showed that the disease called anthrax. So this anthrax majorly it affects the sheep. So this anthrax disease was due to Bacillus anthracis, which exists in pastures in the form of protective spores. So the pasture is nothing but the greens which are given as food for the animals. So through which only the anthrax disease is transmitted to the sheep. Next, harmful effects of microbes. So the pathogen cause diseases in two ways. First, they may cause a tissue damage, or they can produce a toxin. Directly they can affect the tissue, or it can produce a toxin. First is tissue damage. Many pathogens destroy the tissues or organs of the body, and they will cause damage to the morphology and function. For example, the bacterium of Pulmonary tuberculosis. Pulmonary means it chiefly affects the lungs. Okay, damages the cells of the lungs. So tuberculosis affect the lungs. And the virus causing hepatitis. Okay, so this virus specifically affects the liver tissue. So particular tissue or organ is affected. Next, by means of toxin production. So what are toxins? Certain microorganisms produce poisonous substances. So these poisonous substances are referred to as toxin, and these toxin cause tissue damage and which will thereby lead to the diseases. So now we will be learning about the causative organism, mode of infection, occurrence, symptom and preventive measures of airborne, waterborne, vector-borne and sexually transmitted disease. So in this class we will discuss only about airborne and waterborne, vector-borne and sexually transmitted disease. I'll take later. So first is airborne disease. Human beings inhale means take in the atmospheric air, and due to the continuous inhalation of contaminated air, the chances for airborne microorganism to find a host and cause infection are higher. So since the air is polluted, there is a chance of taking the microorganism also through the air and causing the infection rate to be higher. And most of the respiratory tract infections are acquired by inhaling air containing the pathogen. So all the the infection that has got something to do with the respiratory tract, so it is acquired by means of inhaling the air which is harboring these pathogens, and they are transmitted through droplets caused by cough or sneeze. So when we cough or sneeze, droplets are produced. Through those droplets the pathogen will be transmitted. And the airborne diseases, they mainly come under like bacteria or viruses can cause these airborne diseases. And let's see a few airborne disease and their mode of transmission. Airborne diseases caused by virus. Okay, so first disease, common cold. What is the causative organism? The causative organism is rhinovirus. So the mode of transmission is droplet infection. The tissue affected is upper respiratory tract, that is the nasal chamber. The nose is affected, and the symptoms, it can lead to fever, cough, running nose, sneezing and headache. Next, influenza. Myxovirus is causing influenza, and this is also airborne through droplet infection, and it also affects the respiratory tract. And the symptoms include fever, the body pain, cough, sore throat. Okay, sore throat means there will be irritation in the throat, and there will be nasal discharge of sputum, and respiratory congestion. Next is measles, rubella virus. The mode of transmission is through droplet. Okay, so most of the airborne diseases are transmitted through droplet infection. The droplet nuclei and direct contact with the infected person. So when when we are contacting with the infected person also, the disease can be transmitted. And again, respiratory tract is affected, and here the symptoms are some small rashes appear in the skin, cough, sneezing, the redness of the eye. That condition is called as conjunctivitis. The eye is conjunctiva of the eye is damaged, so that condition is called as conjunctivitis. Pneumonia and bronchitis, inflammation of bronchi. Next is mumps. Mumps is caused by myxovirus parotidis, and again droplet infection, and it affects upper respiratory tract. And the symptoms include parotid gland, the salivary gland is enlarged, and movement of jaw will become difficult. Next is chicken pox. It is caused by varicella zoster virus, again droplet infection. It affects the respiratory tract, and even it will lead to the eruption of the skin, fever, and it can cause fever and uneasiness. Next is airborne diseases caused by bacteria. The first is tuberculosis. The causative organism is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. How it is transmitted? Again, it is transmitted through droplet from the sputum of the infected person. And the tissue which is going to affect is lungs. And the symptoms, the person will be having persistent cough. Persistent means like continuous coughing. And chest pain, loss of weight will be there, and loss of appetite. They will not feel like hunger and all, so they will not eat properly. So that is referred to as loss of appetite. Next is diphtheria. It is caused by a bacteria called Corynebacterium diphtheria. And again droplet infection, and the tissue affected is upper respiratory tract, nose and throat, and it will cause fever, sore throat and choking of air passage. Choking means they cannot breathe properly. Next, whooping cough, Bordetella pertussis. This is the name of the pathogen. Again, it is transmitted through droplet. It can affect the respiratory tract, and the symptoms are mild fever, severe cough, and the cough will end in whoop. Whoop is nothing but a sound will be produced due to inspiration. There will be a loud crowing sound. So that is referred to as whooping sound, and hence it is referred to as whooping cough. Next, we will see about waterborne disease. So the microbes that are found in the contaminated water, it can cause various infectious disease. So some of the waterborne diseases are cholera, typhoid, hepatitis, poliomyelitis, diarrhea, etc. So now the most common waterborne diseases and their causative agents, symptoms, preventive measures are given in this following table. First, waterborne disease caused by viruses. First is poliomyelitis. It is caused by poliovirus. The mode of transmission through droplet infection or sputum discharges and secretions of from the nose and even throat, and contaminated water is also the cause for this poliomyelitis. Contaminated food and milk. So which tissue or organ is it is affecting? It is affecting the central nervous system, CNS, the brain and the spinal cord. The symptom is paralysis of limbs. So they will not be limbs, means the legs and hand, it will be not functioning properly. So that is referred to as paralysis. The preventive and control measures. So vaccines are given for this polio. The Salk vaccine or oral polio vaccine, OPV. So it is given in the form of droplets to the children below 5 years of age. Oral polio vaccine. Oral means it is given through the mouth. Hepatitis A or infectious hepatitis. The causative agent is hepatitis A virus, HAV, and the mode of transmission again through contaminated water, food and through oral route. And it will affect the liver. So the tissue affected is liver, and the symptoms include several symptoms will be there: nausea, anorexia, acute fever and jaundice. So there will be a tendency of vomiting, and there will be pain in the body, and even it can affect the liver, thereby causing jaundice. And how it is prevented? Prevention of food contamination, drinking chlorinated and boiled water, and maintaining a proper personal hygiene can avoid this hepatitis A or infectious hepatitis. The next waterborne disease is acute diarrhea. So acute diarrhea is caused by rotavirus, and the mode of transmission is contaminated water, food and oral route, and it will affect the intestine, and the symptoms include vomiting, fever, watery stool with mucus. Stool is nothing but the fecus, the waste. So it will be like a loose stool, okay, watery stool with mucus. And preventive measures include proper sanitation and hygiene. And this table is going to tell us about the waterborne diseases caused by bacteria. So the diseases are cholera and typhoid. Cholera, acute diarrheal disease. It is caused by Vibrio cholerae, and again it is caused through the contaminated food, water, oral route, and also this disease is transmitted through the house fly. And tissue or organ affected, intestinal tract, and it will lead to acute diarrhea. So that loose motion, acute diarrhea with rice watery stool. Okay, rice watery stool is the main characteristic symptom of this cholera. And vomiting may also be there, muscular cramps, nausea and dehydration. And preventive measures: hygienic sanitary condition, intake of oral rehydration solution. So because of the loose motion, the water level has to be the osmotic level also be stabilized in the body. So the person will be given ORS, oral rehydration solution. The next is typhoid. Typhoid is referred to as enteric fever. Since it is going to affect the intestine, it is referred to as enteric fever. The organism is Salmonella typhi. So it is transmitted through food and water contaminated with the fecus. Fecus meaning waste of the infected person, and also it is transmitted through the houseflies. So it affects the small intestine, and the symptoms include high fever, weakness, abdominal pain, headache, loss of appetite, and rashes on the chest and abdomen. And the preventive and control measures, it preventing the contamination of food by the flies. So the food should not be kept open. The flies can sit in unlikely place, and again it can come and sit on the food. It may uh, carry the disease causing germs. So the food also always has to be covered and kept. And improvement of basic sanitation and treatment with antibiotic drugs. So in this class we have seen about the microbes, how they are useful, beneficial, and how they are harmful, and we have discussed about the airborne and waterborne diseases. Meet you in the next class. Thank you.